specifically that you could be making. I just will never
Mhm.
understand that because I've always heard of, the big bad businessman that just wants to make money. And I'm over here like, but half of them actually don't. They just want their feelings to be validated.
What's going on, guys? Webster Style, the man, the voice, the fragrance. Here with, how can I put it, a pint-sized dynamo in the industry, Miss Pixxie
Oh,
LaRue. Pixie, how are you doing today?
I am doing lovely. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I know my fans love to hear my voice as well. So, how are you?
I'm sure.
So, thank you.
I'm good. I'm good.
Um,
Thank you for
so
being here.
I
Appreciate your time.
really like your descriptor of me. That was a good one. I think that's my favorite yet.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, if anybody sees your content, yeah, that definitely applies.
Right? Yeah. I feel like that's part of why my brand has been so popular and will continue to be popular is that everybody loves a super tiny chick that's very crazy. Um, to say the least, specifically so in terms of fetish. So I do a lot of fetish work. I'm definitely getting known for that. I also do queer work, scripted work, the whole gamut. But I'm definitely focused
Mhm.
on the fetish and the cutesy self that I am. On top of that, I feel like is something that's really started to buzz in the year that I've been doing studio work.
Okay, so you've been doing studio for work for a year. Were you just doing self-published content before then?
I just kind of looked around at what everyone was doing. I come from the business world, so I knew pretty fast that I didn't want to go with an agency because most of them didn't know anything more than I knew and knew
Mhm,
less about business, unfortunately.
mhm.
And so in the very beginning, I kind of did content creating. It didn't really want to always knew I didn't really want to self produce until I was at a level that I could have, a full studio personally, because that's kind of always was the goal. But with content creating, at least I was able to make connections and start that networking process, which led me to Red Bottom Productions and about a year ago. And magic was made. He understood my vision. I come very hardworking, ready to work, excited to work. I'm also, just a good performer and professional. So the combination was like, and then, a little after a year's anniversary, I got named their very first female contract star. So I feel very lucky and fortunate for that connection to have been made, and so early on in my career as well. You know, as and on top of that, he has also given me a platform
Right.
to
Now, with
have.
the
Oh, sorry, you lagged there for a second.
yeah, yeah, no problem. I was just listening. It was like I started lagging. I'm like, let me just stop and wait.
Yeah. Okay. Is it?
No, but saying with being a contract star, how is that transition for you as far as like you have this contract, you're working with the studio exclusively, I'm assuming. How has that been as far as maybe what sort of opportunities has brought your way?
That I'm not entirely exclusive. So it's kind of depending on what the project is. I can do some other stuff. The thing that I really like though is I can bring my own creativity to set. I am able to really work right directly with John Juan, the PR gentleman who is so wonderful. And I'm also able to really just help grow the brand. I do a lot of social media stuff. I've been doing, well, not too bad on TikTok lately. And so being able
Mhm.
to bring a brand into that is not just my brand, but a studio brand, and kind of have that merging of creativity is a lot of fun. And it's nice to have guaranteed creative work every month where I feel safe, which is not always the case, unfortunately. So that's another, huge benefit of being contracted. And honestly, I told him, I was like, we just make great, films. Let's just keep doing this.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. And, a steady paycheck is always a good thing.
Right.
But I also hear like that sense of equity as well that you have in the company based on this. And you're doing social media, you bring your own creativity. So you're in many respects, while you're getting paid by the brand, you are really in many sense the brand and investing into its longevity because you invest into it, you put, your time, energy, and creativity into it, it grows and then ultimately that benefits you, especially being under contract.
Exactly. And I've noticed from my time, I'm a research nerd. So I tend, and I love patterns specifically. So I tend to really watch our industry and watch players that are big, small, everyone in between, and just kind of see what works for everyone. And if there's one thing I've noticed, it is that having um, longevity by being a bit of everything is really something that kind of keeps you going
Mhm.
in this career. You have to be good at social media. You have to be good at in-person things, meet and greets, etc. You have to build a brand. But having a contract to back that up just gives you a little more, I don't know, a little more star power, so to speak.
Mhm.
I'm about to start a talking about VPNs a lot because I realized with everything changing that a lot of consumers, as well as people in the industry, don't really know anything about VPNs, and it's becoming something that
Right.
we really need to be using all the time. So I was thinking, I'm like, what about a Red Bottom Productions TikTok campaign about VPN use?
Right.
Because I'm always trying to think
That's
of,
smart.
thank you. I'm always trying to think of things that can be safe for work, but still marketing for our industry, which is so hard these days. I mean, oh,
Right.
the censorship is just insane.
Yeah. The VPN, that's brilliant. And I'm surprised that more creators I've being like a techie, there's so many tech, I guess creators that, hawk for different VPNs as far as sponsorships and everything.
Yeah,
Considering all of the legislation that has happened over the years with the age verification that you need for many sites in many states. I mean, my state, I would need, or like there are sites I can access if I wanted to, um, because of laws that have been passed for protecting children. um,
yep.
so VPNs are very useful to get around those sort of laws and everything. I'm surprised that more in the adult industry haven't championed them, especially as a way of generating extra awareness for your brand, but also in sponsorships, or at least affiliate links, finding
Right.
ways to generate more income for the company or individual creators themselves with their brands.
I will bet you money that they have, and they have been turned down.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, not a lot of brands really want to do things with us, whether or not that would make them money, which is something that's really I've found interesting in this industry in general. How much of it is not really actually about business. It's
Right.
about feelings and emotions. A lot of people on all the ends. So you have studio owners who, produce stuff that they want to see instead of what we have all this consumer data telling us nowadays.
Right.
You have companies that are safe for work not wanting to work with us because of image, just on all ends of the spectrum. People don't realize that this could be so much more business wise. We could all be making way more money, but a lot of people don't use the technology that's there. VPNs are awesome, especially with if you don't have an Apple phone. You can tunnel your VPN. You can change what
Right.
country you're in, which is
Mm.
important because different countries have different internet censorship laws. So you want to make sure that you go and you pick a country that's going to align with the things that you want to see online. Also, people don't realize, unfortunately, Google is 100% an American country, and they censorship a lot of things at this point. They're,
Right.
hand in hand with American policymakers right now. And so you're seeing a very specific search engine results, which might change. We shall
Mhm.
see. But I just
Right.
feel like it's happening so fast that a lot of people, if you're not into technology and what technology can do for us, you don't really know, and you don't really know the business maker it could be. And that's just, like I said, across the board in the industry. I notice all the time is just people not making business decisions based on facts
Right.
and statistics and like the stuff that I'm used to didn't really translate over into porn. I still love porn, but I'm slowly but surely finding more people that understand the business side of things, which is another thing I love about Red Bottom Studios is we talk about that side of everything as well. He Dante, the studio owner, he and I talk about how are we going to market this? Who should we work with next or what should we do next that's going to elevate the brand, elevate me, that's within my creativity and brand. And to have that level when, 90% of studios don't really have is something that's phenomenal. And I'm so lucky to have, but it's also just nice to talk business with somebody because he's been in
Right. You
business
know,
before this industry as well. So we're both kind of,
right.
geek out on that a little bit.
Right. And I love that. Like, first of all, just talking to you, I know there's a different perspective. There's definitely a business side of things. And it seems like while you've had many in the industry, especially with OnlyFans, I'll get back to that in a minute. Um, they've had to learn the business. It's a drastic difference hearing somebody come in who understands business, and then you are working with people who understand the business instead of kind of learning as you go. Because one of the things you talked about was companies making content based on feeling and not really using that data, and that's one of the reasons why, in some respects, it's pandemic is a little bit different, but even in general, direct consumer content is kicking the companies behind because they were
Yep.
not listening to what consumers wanted. And now that those sites are becoming ways for you specifically and others in the industry to gain a fan base and say, hey, this is what I have. This is my fan base. This is how much, how many subscriptions I have. These are paying subscriptions. You put me on your site, those people will come to your site. Now, as a way of leverage of getting with those larger sites, and it's you then get that even larger exposure to more of a, I guess, it's weird to say mainstream audience when they talk about the industry, but still more of a mainstream artist or audience compared to just your
Yeah.
own niche sort of audience that you have on your direct consumer sites.
Yeah. It's really amazing too. the fans you get from all over the world. I have the
Mhm.
most adorable fans, and they create opportunities for you as well. Fans love to do that. They love to be involved as much as they can in your career and kind of help see you grow. And
Mhm.
so I have some fans in the UK who kind of put me on the radar of Mid Stars, which is this very new concept of a fan site slash flip store slash a little bit of everything, but that's run entirely by sex workers. And then on the back
Mhm.
end, they use a crypto based payment processing. So on the front end, you
Mhm.
can still sign up with a credit card and all that jazz. But on the back end, we're a little more protected as sex workers. And so, because of that, they are one of the few sites at this level, at this point, right now, where you can put pretty much any fetish that you can think of on there. They're the
Mhm.
only site I now have that has my waterboarding content. Um, with the
Okay.
new rules on Fansly, many vids is changing their rules. Everybody is changing their rules, and it's getting to a point where even if they're not 100% getting rid of porn, they're making it so that it's a very specific kind of porn that you can even show, which is terrifying. And
Right.
people need to do something. And it's fun hearing about little companies like that that are really starting to build and grow, that we can put our name behind, that actually care about us and care about the community,
Right.
more than credit card processing companies, who we've all battled with.
Right.
But I feel like right now we're just
I
kind
was
of
going to
on all
bring that up
sides.
actually. Yeah, because being a gamer, I've heard about everything as far like deplatforming or debanking based on adult content is not new. Patreon, they pretty much got rid of adult content not too long ago because of the same issue. Steam is now dealing with the same issue with MasterCard. So when you brought up, what was the site again?
Mint stars.
Mid-stars, yes. Okay, when you brought that up, you talked about, pretty much you use your credit card, but it's backed pretty much by blockchain. That's a way of getting around the payment process. And I'm pretty sure that the same issue is probably true because with the changes in Fansly and OnlyFans because of they're probably getting pressure from payment cards, which is really amazing and again, not to be political, but it's interesting that there's big push to stop debanking, but only based on ideology. And
Oh,
it's like I
right?
find it really
It's
interesting. You making this push.
interesting. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
how
very interesting, very
and,
selective.
and money specifically that you could be making. I just will never
Mhm.
understand that, because I've always heard of the big bad businessman that just wants to make money, and
Right,
I'm over here like, but actually don't. They just want their feelings to be validated.
right, exactly,
Honestly.
exactly. Yeah, and that's really all it is. And I find it interesting in today's age when we're so interlaced because of technology and so many things are available toward, I mean, because of technology that
Hmm.
you don't want to take every dollar, or at least in a portion of payment processes, you don't want to get a percentage of every dollar that is spent in whatever it is, as long as it's legal. You don't have to agree with it, but as long as it's legal, I don't want to understand the issue. Your payment process.
I will say that is part of it too. Is people don't realize every country, has such different business laws. So a lot of these companies, the
Right.
US is in a very conservative swing. That's just where we are right now. So a lot of these
Mhm.
companies that are US based
Yes.
companies are going to go that route. So, you have Google, you have Meta, you have these American companies that are powerhouses, and they are 100% just going with the flow. And so then you have what are you supposed to do? And that's where I think knowing about VPNs, how to stay safe, how to make sure, that your IP address isn't being, watched, and all these different things, can really help us in the times ahead, because I mean, it's getting scary. um
Right.
even sites we were accepted on are now changing their mind, and censoring.
Right.
But I think one of the biggest things that people don't realize is most of the world still uses Google as a search engine.
Right.
Google censors
Right.
now to an extreme level. And it doesn't just censor based on law, it also censors based on the country. So your news is going to be focused on the country and everything. So you're missing out on a lot when you're just using Google all the time. And so sites, their analytics on the back end are always connected to Google. What
Right.
are you supposed
Right.
to do when that is such an enormous conglomerate that just has its claws in everything? Well, we shall see
Right.
if they have to give up their search results, but they don't even show all the search results that they actually get to you. So why are they going to show those to
Right.
everyone else? So yeah, I've been a huge proponent of VPNs and DuckDuckGo right now. I've been telling everybody, use DuckDuckGo. It's amazing.
Right.
And definitely for us tech people, that's the way to go these days. I've been making all my friends take a political question and put it in Google and then put it in DuckDuckGo, and it's been very interesting. And that's all I'm going to say. Very
Gotcha. Yeah.
interesting, very different results.
I can imagine. Right. Let me back up a little bit because I didn't ask you, how did you get into the adult industry?
So I actually want to be a porn star since I was in high school. And my first degree, I know, loved it. And my first degree was in acting and directing. And I kind of was like, I'm not feeling it quite yet. I don't want to be a broke artist. So I went and dabbled in other things, and I
Mhm.
learned I'm really good with business and things like that. And so I worked in marketing and small business management and consulting and stuff. And then, you know, COVID happened, and this change really started to happen in the industry. And I was like, oh, okay, well, now I'm older, I know a bit more. The industry is getting to a point where I can see myself actually doing things in it. We're getting a little less queer phobic and transphobic, and a little more open-minded, etc. So, it was starting to look more and more like something I could do. And I kind of dipped my toe in the water. And you know, there isn't someone who has my look, who has my brand, and who
Right.
has, everything that I do. And so I feel like that kind of makes me extremely marketable. I mean, there is a reason that I am one of Red Bottom Productions' top stars when he's had huge heavy hitter actors and actresses. And it's that I have something that's unique and not seen. And in this very kind of cookie cutter industry where it's same after same after same, I really feel like that's something that's kind of, been able to push me ahead. And I realized that pretty early on and was like, I'm just going to go for it. And starving artist, yes, is still a thing, even in porn.
Yeah.
um that's it. The thing that I tell people all the time is that, like, we're not all filthy rich, okay? The amount of money we have to put back into this is wild. But I'm not doing too bad these days. um but yeah, no,
Right.
it's definitely been a whirlwind. So altogether I would say I technically still haven't 100% jumped out of the civvy world. I still do some small business marketing and consulting here and there. I know a lot of people in the
Mhm.
area, and have just kept connections. But for the most part, I have been out for about 2 years now. Like I said, I started kind of content creating just to kind of gain connections and stuff. And then, connected with Red Bottom. And
Right.
like I said, the rest is history. But yeah, something I've always wanted to do, and the time just seemed right.
Well, yeah, the world has changed. So a lot of, not just with the adult industry, but one of the things with the pandemic, it really prompted a lot of people to say, you know what, I'm going to do these things or make these changes that I always wanted, because tomorrow's not promised.
Exactly. Yeah. It also showed, I think, too, you were talking about how consumers were able to really voice what they wanted and have that shown in fan sites and
Right.
stuff. And I think that gave me even more hope, because sometimes it's hard to really think, well, can I make it when you don't see anyone who looks like you don't see anyone who is your type
Right.
of flavor. I'm autistic. I'm out and proud about it now, for the first time ever in my life, which is something I'm able to do as somebody who works in porn, which is amazing. But it's not something that a ton of,
Hmm.
porn stars are out about. So that's been really beautiful to be able to be, porn star who's also autistic and who talks about that. And just all the things that I am, just being slightly more accepted, and people wanting to see that on film and see that in their, celebrities, so to speak, really just gave me the drive.
Right.
I was like, this is my time now. It's finally happening.
Right. I think one of the things, you brought that up as far as your being autistic, in general, and as far as having people see, maybe it's something to get a different side of an adult. So I think that's one of the things that some people in the adult industry do very well as far as humanizing themselves.
Mhm.
And I think that's part of, that's definitely an appeal for some. Some still kind of want to like have that chance to be with her or him. Like that's, I enjoy seeing real people. and I,
Yeah,
and I think that's one of the reasons I enjoy doing these interviews. I love seeing the real person and who you are, not just what I can see on Twitter or the hub or whatever. It's who
exactly.
you are really, and who it is behind that persona in some respects that we see on camera. And I think that's more appealing to me. And I know for a lot of people, that aspect, and I would dare say that vulnerability that some are able to really show, really helps with, you're creating a brand. It helps you not just really excel in the industry, but outside of the industry as well.
Yeah, I talk about this a lot. I notice the people that kind of fade away are the people that are bad at social media and creating a brand. And a lot of times, specifically, they will
Mhm.
create a brand that is not very close to who they really are. And not only is it
Right.
easier, but it's just better in general, especially if you want that longevity, to create something as close to yourself as possible. So, I always remind my fans, on camera, it is still a fantasy. I'm not 100% always
Right.
into absolutely everything I'm doing and every person I'm doing, but I am very much into the fantasy and the beautiful film that I'm able to create. And I'm definitely off camera 100% myself, which is a lot of
Right.
fun, actually. It makes things easier. And I'm lucky enough to have a very marketable personality. We all love a hot weirdo. So it's worked out.
Now, with you being with Red Bottom, your contract, tell me about some of the films you've been doing.
So I just had two scenes come out, that were some pretty big ones. I worked with Brickzilla, and that was something.
Okay.
I did it anally, because your girl is very tiny, and has tiny bone structure down there and can only do the back end.
Mhm.
So with the brick pillow is back
Okay.
end only. And he is the size of my calf. So I put my calf in my ass basically, and that was something. Let me tell you, seeing it on camera, I still can't believe I did it, honestly. It took a lot of prep, but also kind of felt like really
I can
amazing as an
imagine.
accomplishment. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
I even took a picture and like sent it to my friends. I was like, look at his dick and my calf next to it. Like they're the same size. So that was one definitely for the books. And then I also got to work with Rebel Rider, and that was a little scary because I did two things that I've never done before in my life, even outside of porn. And having two very firsts on camera with a legend was a little intimidating. But so my one first was I got anally fisted, and then my other first was I got doubly anally penetrated. So two dicks in the butt. So yeah,
Okay.
both went phenomenally. And yeah, there is a video of Rebel Rider's entire fist in my ass out there. So
Oh
those were
wow.
pretty awesome. And I'm very much hoping the Rebel Rider scene, because it's just a phenomenal scene, honestly, in general. She's phenomenal. I'm
Mhm.
phenomenal. If we don't get nominated for something, I don't know what y'all are doing.
That's right. It's award
um,
season.
yeah, yes, yes. So all the fans should know at this point, but go out and vote for us. But yeah, so those two scenes are out now, and were definitely mind blowing. But then also for my birthday recently, I got to film a blow bang, and this is the fun part about being a contract star is I actually got to be a large part of the directing. Red Bottom and
Okay.
I together kind of came up with the concept, how we wanted things to go. And I didn't realize that I was going to be a little more nauseous that day than I usually am. And so
Mhm.
it turned into a very hardcore blow bang, which is very me. And I recently got to see the raw footage, and it is, oh my God, it is hardcore and it is
Okay.
beautiful. We're going to definitely have to put out two different versions because the
Okay.
original is not going everywhere. But
Understood.
yeah,
Mhm.
that should be coming out this fall. I don't think we have an exact date quite yet, but it was really exciting and to kind of come up with the vision of what I had in mind. And I'm gonna be honest, some of the greats, I love Sophia Burns, and I've
Mhm.
seen a lot of her blow bangs, and I was like, oh, that's so awesome! It's so raw and sexy and crazy, and so we kind of took that kind of energy and just ran with it. And it came out phenomenally. So that was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Now, I understand you have an acting degree. How much of your acting chops do you get to flex in some of your scenes?
So say for all of them, because even if you're not performing in the typical sense, you're always kind of performing, because
Mhm.
you have to remember that where the cameras are, what every part of your body is doing, what your face is doing. The biggest thing for me is remembering what I've been saying while things are happening, so I don't keep saying the same thing, because that's one of the huge things that takes you
Mhm.
from kind of more, I don't want to say amateur, but that more like authentic amateur to a more scripted and fantasy driven, which is my preference and a lot of people's preferences. All is obviously good and wonderful, But to have that, you have to be thinking about what you're saying, even during the sex part. So I feel like I, to an
Right.
extent, performed the whole time. But it has been fun doing some scripted scenes with like actual lines and stuff. It had been a while, and I was like, do I still have it? And I do. So it's all okay. I definitely memorized the scenes the night before too, just like old times. So, but it was a lot of fun. It definitely, though, does give me, a head, kind of a leg up, though, in I already knew how to do a lot of camera work,
Right.
um, which I've noticed is not always the case. So that was really nice, honestly. And I'm just happy I'm using that fancy degree, finally.
But any way you can use it is what matters.
Exactly. Exactly. Finally. My second
Right.
one's in English. That one, we're kind of getting there. I write my own, blurbs for the press.
Right. Right. Well, hey, that's a start right there. So I got
I've always been a learner. I love learning. I love absorbing, just as much as I possibly can on all aspects. So I don't ever think a degree is wasted. Um, but at the same time, sometimes it's nice to actually use it.
I totally understand. Now, before I let you go, I want to ask you, are you into fragrances? And if so, what are some of your favorites?
So I'm not really, actually. I
Okay.
am a quintessential nerd, and I have insane allergies and asthma, and I am allergic to
Okay.
so much. So I
Oh
am
man,
the
that's
opposite. I'm like, no sense, please. It's
gotcha.
honestly a huge part of why. There's many reasons, but it's one of the reasons I'm not a huge convention goer. I'm
Mhm.
immunocompromised. I have horrific allergies. I would not be at my best, and that's not fair to fans. So eventually, when
I
I'm
understand.
a little bit more famous, I'm going to do maybe some meet and greets, but
Mhm.
conventions are still a little bit much for me.
Yeah, I can especially there's always a sector that doesn't understand how to use deodorant at conventions as well. And also, yeah, we call it, and just in general, con crud. Like you come back and like you're sick or somebody's sick or some. Yeah, so I totally get that. Yeah,
I
stains.
did I did AVN, and I didn't even do the convention part. I was there filming all week, and I came home
Mhm.
with not only the flu but also um neurovirus, because apparently there was like a new
Oh man,
strain. So I was sick for 2 weeks, and I was like, see, this is why I don't do these things. It was a rough time. But
right.
yeah, that's why I love doing stuff like this, because it's a way for me to show the fans, my personality, but also not getting sick at the same time.
Right. Understood. Understood. Now tell everybody where they can find you.
So the easiest way is going to be my page with all my spicy links as well as my safe for work links. And that is allmylinks.com /Pixxie LaRue. And that is PIXXIELARUE, Pixxie LaRue. Allmylinks.com /Pixxie LaRue for all the fun stuff, the naughty stuff, the safe, fun stuff, pretty much everything. And then from there, you can also find Red Bottom Productions as well.
Okay. Thank you, Pixie. I appreciate your time. Definitely, it's been a fun conversation. You
Yes.
guys check her out, all her safe for work sites and not safe for work sites, and also check out Red Bottom Productions, where you'll be seeing more just in general next few weeks, detailing Red Bottom Productions and others who have worked with them as well. Pixie, thank you again. You
Thank you
guys,
so
thank you for
much.
your thank you so much. You guys, thank you for your time. Thank you for your listening ear. And remember, stay safe out there and be blessed.
Thanks.